friends. This is Tosh, and we are Unwritten Rules of the Road. Today we have an incredible guest, Curse Mackey. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm happy to be here on a Sunday. It's good. Thanks.
Yes, yes.
I need something fun to
Um,
do.
it's always fun to do it on a Sunday, I think. It's a nice
Yeah,
way
it's
to start
cool.
the week. Yeah, yeah. So I just wanted to start off to congratulate you on your incredible upcoming album, Imaginary Enemies. I had a chance to listen to the music and it's amazing, like absolutely amazing. Uh, Congratulations on your release.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Imaginary Enemies. It comes out this Friday, and I would say that I'm quite happy with the the end results of a long, hard journey, so to speak. So yeah, I'm happy, and I'm looking forward to playing much of it on tour coming up soon. So everything's good.
So I saw that you had mentioned that it was actually part of a trilogy. Um, this is part
Right.
three, correct?
Correct. This is like where it all comes to its climactic conclusion, I suppose. Yeah, so Instant Exorcism was the first one in 2019, and then Immoral Emporium was 2022, and then now this one, Imaginary Enemies, in 2025. So it's kind of, as you can see, like this IE kind of themed, which has a whole deeper meaning outside of this conversation. But yeah, so this is the finale. So it's kind of a cool journey on my developing this self-titled project out of almost necessity because I wanted to play shows and Pigface wasn't being super active at the time and just everything was kind of in a strange flux, I think, even in the music economy at the time. So I just slowly put this thing together and then it became now this 3 album thing over 6 years. So it's kind of fun for me to have these 3 records and then maybe have a little closure as well as to this component or this aspect or period of time in my creative life. And then now I can open myself up to something else maybe following
Yeah.
this.
I was curious, when you went into the trilogy, did you have like kind of a vision for how the thing was going to go? Or do you feel like did you have all the songs kind of written in the beginning or like a roadmap, or did you kind of let it go in process over the 6 years?
I don't think at the beginning that I knew that I could make it to a full trilogy. It was just the first record was a matter of like sort of this primordial ooze kind of coming to life out of starting to do these ambient shows that were very improvisational in 2016 when I was playing. I did like 8 shows with Chant. I think you know Bradley Bills. So yeah, I was going to just DJ open for him he was playing his way up to Cold Waves Festival, but then in 2016, but at the last minute, I decided that just DJing seemed a little bit just boring. And so I wanted to shake it up. And so I just composed this sort of freeform ambient sketch of a set and just started playing, making shit up on the fly. And after doing that for 8 or 9 shows, these repetitions, I guess, of arpeggiations or little things that I did started to emerge, which created the first songs like Oh Blasphemy and After You Destruction, Somewhat Possessed kind of came out of that experiment of trying a new project under my own name with no band members. And so that kind of just took off. So now I didn't have a overarching trilogy in mind, but I knew by the time I was getting deep into the second record that there would have to be a third. So I would say probably it happened about halfway that I started to see the need or desire to get that far at least, and that I had the idea of what IE kind of meant. Um, Again, a tale for another time. But yeah.
Yes. I mean, from I actually went on the journey of listening to the albums back to back,
All right.
and having experienced your show last fall, which was amazing. It really did feel like it was tapping into this kind of subconscious, like surreal journey. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I think that's where it's supposed to go.
yeah,
It's like steeped in realism, but also this sort of phantasmagorical magic element that we, or supernatural aspects of life that we also kind of like or feel maybe exist, like the ghostly element in the afterlife and things like that. But this record definitely, the new one, has some true to life characters and people that I knew in my life that have died, unfortunately, and are mentioned by name. And yeah, so I really kind of tackled something much more real than I have in the past, which were sort of almost like my version of sort of a science fictional approach to autobiographical material in my writing, if that makes sense. But this one definitely just some real things happened that made me kind of find my way through all the music that I had been writing to reach an endpoint that wasn't just based in fantasy. I mean, it's like a pretty real record. So I like that I've managed to find a real emotional chord within myself after writing 30 songs, basically, to where by the time at the end of this one, I think that it was kind of poignant.
yeah, absolutely. I feel like it's almost like you're writing towards the truth and finding that truth, as the pinnacle point to tie it all together.
Absolutely. Well put.
Yeah. One of the things that struck me about your show was just how intentional everything was, like from the visuals and the performance and the music. It felt like very, very intentional. I wanted to ask you about the visuals, actually. Is this something that you put together, or did you work with another artist?
I will say, yes, I put it all together, but the source of each video is a little bit different. Like, some of them are the actual music videos for the songs. So, for instance, like the Submerge video, Rona from Sign,
Yeah.
and I kind of collaborated on that. And Lacerations is a similar thing. But then also there's some pretty sleek animation going on that a good friend of mine, Brian Ruhlman, uh, a notable VJ for like Insomniac events, doing like he used to do some very Lollapalooza level video work, but he came to me wanting to work on some industrial stuff with some new technology and new digital paint brushes and that type of thing. And he didn't really want to share it with a major label artist. So he just said, I want to work on your stuff. And he made like 4 or 5 really beautifully animated videos that also play throughout the set. And but unfortunately, Brian passed away of cancer last year. He did get to see me play at the a show. He got to see one show last year in June when we played in LA with Xymox. That he got to see his animations on a very big screen, and it was awesome. And it was a sold out show. But he didn't tell me that he had cancer. And then like 3 months later, I'm like, why am I not hearing from him? And then another friend of mine was like, hey, Brian passed away. Didn't want anybody to know. So I kind of keep playing. I'm going to keep playing those videos for a good while, just as a memory for him. And then I'm working on new stuff. So it's kind of as I finish a video, it gets slotted in. And then if I am in a hurry and I need like a new song, you kind of go into almost like a visualizer mode and create something. So that, yeah, so it's a labor intensive portion of the set design, if you will, is dealing with the videos. Yes, but they do also act as a lighting source and another companion on stage
Yeah.
for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's amazing, like the weaving of it. I was wondering, like, when you get ready for a tour, do you actually rehearse with yourself with like all the pieces in place to feel the flow of it?
I should. And most of the time I do, like I'm feeling pretty good right now. Like we're in my rehearsal space right now, and all my gear is on, my set is up. I have stage lighting set up, and the tour starts on July 31st. So today's the 20th. I'm feeling fairly rehearsed because I already had, we just did 4 shows in Florida at the end of June. So I've been getting a lot of other shit done, and I'm ready to start playing. So yes, it's ideal to run everything, mainly because you just want to make sure it all works. Like if you don't set everything up for real until you get to the first gig, you might be like, oh God, I didn't know the bulb was out in the projector, or that you left the power cord for the projector, or the batteries are dead in the projector remote. Any little dumb thing can happen. So it makes sense to like set your gear up once or twice, uh, and make sure it all functions and works. And then getting back to your point about the visuals and things like that, of course, you want to see it all running and see how it looks, so you can decide whether you just like the whole content or flow of the show. So yes, the more time you could spend with everything working, of course, it's going to just yield results that are to the positive,
Yeah.
as with anything.
Yeah. It's a juggle though. I mean, you're in the week and a half before the tour launches, so it's a matter of picking and choosing your battles, right?
Yeah, I need to start singing mostly again. That's like the main thing for me, is just physical and conditioning really to do the show, and all the as you know, it's a physical thing, right? You have your
Oh yeah.
45 minutes or an hour of a show, and then along with that, quite a few other things that require a decent amount of physical energy. So being ready for that, and then just trying to be able to sing, like, I don't know, I don't think probably have no more than 6 or 7 shows in a row, so it's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like getting good again.
Well, it is interesting because as a vocalist, your body is your instrument, and um, it absolutely does take conditioning. And you put on a high energy show, so um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so I think like that's just part of the things of getting ready for tour for anybody, is that you should sort of look at your body that way, um, especially if you're in a van type of tour, which most of bands are. So there's no place to just lay down and pass out like in a bunk. So you're kind of subjected to your environment the whole time. So I think it pays to spend some time ahead of time getting like, we go for walks every morning and try to get in 20 or 30 minutes of some form of physical exercise every day to create muscle strength and keep the little tendons, and like I've broken my fingers and toes, and like I've just had injuries over time. So it's like I just want to stay physically healthy, because that's the most key thing you have when you're out there, like being able to do the thing and not having to wear, splints, or just being tired. I mean, people get fatigued, so it's
yeah,
just taking care of yourself. Take your vitamins, get lots of sleep before you leave on tour, and get
yes.
ready, lift some weights, eat good.
Well,
Yeah,
when you're on the road, like how do you maintain your stamina? Because it's like a marathon, especially when you go out for longer runs.
right. Yeah. So we're about to have like our longest of the year coming up from July 31st to getting home on like September 2nd, probably. So Um, that's a lot. I think it's 24 shows in 31 days, something like that. So yeah, I mean, it goes back to what I was just saying, like getting ahead of it and working on everything now, but also going for walks and exercising, and really taking the physical fitness part seriously to be able to put on a good show, but also have the energy to be awake to drive, or load in and load out and communicate with people and set up the merch. You know all these things that you have to do running your own basically mobile pop-up retail operation plus putting on a show and driving it there is a lot of fucking work. So I just think getting in shape is one of the things that I think is important, or at least trying, like starting out a few weeks ahead of time so it doesn't hit you like a fucking ton of bricks. And I've seen it happen to people that didn't prepare. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh my God, I'm on a 6-week tour and I'm 3 days in and if I can see this coming. And now I twisted my ankle and I don't have access to all the sweets and shit that I eat at home. And I don't know what I'm doing already, and I'm tired, and like people lose it fast. So just from my experience, like that's a good way to keep a sharper edge is take care of yourself well in advance. It's just like anything else. It's sort of like if you look at it in a way, like I guess like professional sports, like those guys are highly paid, highly trained professionals, but they don't just show up on for the first game like and just expect to do it at that level. They work on it for like 2 months in advance. And I kind of look at it the same way. Like I know that I've known this tour was coming for 3 months now. So for me, then that just sets everything in motion with this big picture to-do list. And part of that is like, start walking, start exercising, start rehearsing, like driving myself to carve out time and focus and get rid of other distractions to where then now like I'm just narrowed down. Like up until this time, my morning on Sunday, the first thing we did was we got up and then had our morning walk, have coffee, and then I started just folding my t-shirts and labeling them all that I just got picked up yesterday from my merch printer. So that's like, at least I got to do 60 shirts and folded and labeled and packed in the merch container that goes, right? So that's a big thing that I won't be staying up late on the night before tour, frantically trying to get done. So, and then from there, I have to deliver a video from a song. Since my album comes out on Friday, I have a video that's also due as part of the press campaign. So in this case, I'm the one editing the video. And so I have to finish that. So that's what I was also working on up until this. And then when I get done with this, I have a call with the promoter to try to nail a show that fell apart, like a replacement show, because we lost a show because the venue's not going to be open. So now I'm trying to fill a date. So
Yeah.
that's my Sunday off.
Yes. I mean, do we really get days off?
No, because you don't want days off because it's just fun. And you
Yes.
want to work on these things at any chance you get because that's why we do it.
Absolutely. I mean, how do you keep track of all the things? Because there's a lot of moving parts and you wear a lot of hats.
Well, I have gotten really forceful with myself about time blocking and organizing my day going in. Like, I know there's like, we all have the list of like, oh shit, I got to do like 16 different things. But really, I try to narrow it down to the one or two most essentials. And it kind of goes in like a bit of a business administrative block. Like there's going to be one thing I got to make sure I take care of on that end of things. And then the other thing is like, what are my deliverables creatively or getting ready for this tour? And I got to like make sure, like right now, my number one thing is kind of like get this fucking video done. And, before that, it was another thing of that kind of level that I had to get out the door. So these are the things that once they're out of the way, then I can move on to the next most important creative piece. And then, like now I know on my calendar, it's been like this upcoming week is now I got to start advancing all the shows since I'm kind of have the tour manager role for my own stuff, as well as when we're out with Clan of Xymox, I kind of manage everything. So I got to start contacting all the venues and find out. So what time, when, where, what, and all of that stuff and organize that to getting to back to what we're talking about, organization, and then like lots of Excel spreadsheets of keeping track of hotels and where the reservation is on hotels.com and how much it is and what the address is of the hotel, as well as the keeping track of the same all the show information on a spreadsheet of promoter name, venue name, address, what time are we loading in, how much are we getting paid, what's the details on all the parking and all that stuff, right? All the as much information as we can get, and then trying to make sure then also that my touring partners like Rona from Sign, and we'll have Void Palace will be with us for 2 weeks. So Ali and Sebastian, like they need to know also what's up. And then of course, when Clan of Xymox joins us, then all those guys are always like, hey, Curse, what time is, what time are we leaving tomorrow? What time do we arrive at when is load in and all of this shit? So the more you can just go like, here's everybody, here's all that information, then that's good. So yeah, that's all a whole shit ton of admin work that goes into like kind of getting ready to get out the door. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's
that's a
it's a
lot. But I think it all leads to trying to get to the point of just knowing where you're going,
mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Before you leave, and trying to know as much about where you're going all the way to when you're getting home that you can, like all the steps we're going to face as a touring entity over the next 30 days, trying to know what every one of those things are. Because I think like knowing where you're going is just the beginning. That's the first thing. Like, where's the club? Where's the hotel? What's the whole point of all of this? Like, what are you trying to do with your career? Or why are you touring even? Like, where are you going? It's like a kind of a twofold thing. Like, yes, one is just where's the club, but the other thing is like first step, like knowing where you're going when it comes to the very basic of touring. Like, well, why are you going? Where? Like, what do you want to do? Is it for accolades and pat on the back and some crazy fun illusion of some lifestyle that may or may not actually exist? Or do you really want to do art for a living as your career, and you're willing to like put your body out there because part of doing that is actually touring, and that again is not for the faint of heart. So I don't know where you're going. That's my first rule.
I think that is absolutely foundational. 100%. I love how you put it too, is to know where you're going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
have an idea of a destination. Then when you know where you're going, like I think definitely in terms when it comes to more like the like career wise, if you have an idea of where you want to get, like, hey, I want to play. For me, it's like I want to play 50 shows this year, and I want to make X amount of money doing it, and a few other parameters. Then that's a goal that you can go.
Hmm.
Then I know, and then I know whether I'm hitting that or not. And if I do, I might know, okay, well now actually, well, like the 50 shows is good, but I need to make more per show. Or actually, I don't really like doing it that much. And I really prefer to only play like once a month in towns near me and just make music and put it online and communicate within an online community about industrial or goth or whatever the fuck type of music you make, right? And then your
Yeah.
expectations change because you're still happy with the end result, because you're just like, cool, this is the show I get to play this month because I have a whole nother life. I have a family or a job, and I can't go do what Curse does or hasn't committed. We've made different life choices. So it's also good to know where you're going, because that way your expectations are met in a way, because it's okay. It's success at any level as long as you are enjoying what you're doing and not feeling like you're failing.
Yeah, absolutely. If I may ask, like what is your I guess joy or love of touring? Because you've toured so extensively in multiple capacities.
Right. Joy by necessity. Like meaning like, so I've made a commitment that I wanted to tour and make music and put it out there. So, and part of the making of the music experience for me is going to play shows. Like I find that to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And if it can, and it's also something, I guess, like within my genetic makeup or something, I've been involved in, I guess, music uh, as part of my overall economic makeup, if you will, like since I was a teenager. Like I've been DJing and putting on shows and playing in bands. So it's always been a core part of like who I am and what I do. And that expands into producing events around music and making art or putting on art exhibits. But it all kind of comes from this creative center. And then out of that, you create, or maybe you don't, but for me, it's to try to make a business out of that and do it because it's what I want to do. And if I can do it and be sustainable, then I can do it my entire life. And I could be 90 years old talking to you about the same shit, right? And how
Yeah.
you figure out how to work your way through technology and manage your own storefront and create an economy out of your art or whatever else you can bring to the universe creatively. So I think that you just have to go and do it. I don't know where that was going, but yeah, that's
But
where it goes. Yeah, that's what
I
happens.
I love that there is a really grounded philosophy in what you're sharing, in that you're talking about the sustainability and continuing to be able to do this.
Right.
Because it is one thing to have the expression, which is amazing. Expressing an art making in and of itself it is, I feel, really vital to all of us.
I think everybody should do that.
Absolutely. But to be able to like actually like balance the left brain and right brain, so to speak, where you're like, okay, this is the grounded in reality aspect of what it is to be an artist who is actually able to make a career of it.
Yeah, it's a little, I mean, there's definitely a risk reward balance that takes place because sometimes it is a more like has a the stability obviously of a if say if you just have your standard 9 to 5 job, versus a sort of freedom and feast or famine at times, when it comes to the way money comes in and more in a cycle type of way for most bands. It's like this. And then there's the freedom to do what you want and to try to follow your paths that really mean the most to your kind of core being. So yeah, it's interesting, and I think that everybody should find that balance because the main thing is that if you have a sustainable side gig, then that's cool because it can also take the pressure off your art,
Yeah.
where you can do both almost not really part time, but they just support each other in that way. And lots of people make it work that way too. So, um, but the main thing is that you just have to like, if you want to be creative, then you just have to protect that time and actually do it. That's the main thing. Like whatever it is, like unless you're actually sitting there doing it, writing or composing and then publishing and putting it out, then it's just not legit in a way. I guess, I mean, if we're talking like being like a true artist and having somewhat of a career, you have to put this stuff out. Otherwise, you're a hobbyist and you're tinkering. But, for those that, for me, like the ultimate is to get to do it every day. Like, fuck yeah, let's like drive to do this and try to make it happen and figure it out to where I can keep doing it. And the safety net is not necessarily there, but like doing it is a wonderful thing. So for us, like it's the time of our lives to get ready to have a record come out and then get ready to do this tour. It's everything that I guess uh, the younger version of me that hadn't done it would be really excited about. So there's no sense in being jaded about anything. Like I created this monster, so let's enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I don't know. I was curious actually as well about like you mentioned having really a lot of moving parts. Um, like, do you find that your creativity and writing time is are you able to create when you're in the midst of having to juggle all of these details? Or is there like a span of time where you're like a lot more prolific and then you set it down and then get ready for a tour? Or is it all interwoven, if that
There's
makes
like
sense?
these, I think, yeah, that's a good question. There's basically, I think, ongoing layers of the way things like if you're composing your life, so the way it's almost like the way music is written, like that, yes, there's this thing going on, but now this other thing has come in, but then that one's going to fall out, and then this next thing is going to come in, and then this other shit's going to just come crashing in, like, and then you deal with that, and then that's out of the way, and then but this other thing is still being dragged along quietly in the background. So yeah, there's definitely multitasking going on, but what I have learned over time through a lot of trial and error is that multitasking sucks, and it's a fast way to get not a lot done. And especially now, every like, how many tabs do you have open in your browser or on your phone, apps on your phone right now? I would ask any of you, and it's probably like a lot. Like you have to carve it down again, like getting back to the focus and protecting the time and being organized to where it's like, okay, this 2 hours every day right now is vital that I am, say, for instance, when I was working on the core writing of my book, like it was like, okay, like no, like as much as I would resist, everything was trying to prevent me from sitting down and just like sitting down to write. Like, oh, I'll just
Hmm.
check my email real quick. And like you do that, you fucking fuck yourself because then you notice that, oh, I forgot to deal with this. Oh shit, hang on. And then all of a sudden you've lost your writing mode for the day because life took over. So the main thing is like sitting down and getting that core creative thing done at all cost. And then the next thing is in now if I write for 2 hours, now I know then I will deal with this administrative thing I got to deal with for an hour. The fucking booking agent is like confusing me or something, or any little task related to the tour or something that's nagging. I will just put this over here for right now, but I will address it. And then after that is done, then I can move on to the next thing. So yeah, time blocking is like critical and like really protecting the most valuable time and not falling into that like way Facebook and email will eat up so much of your potential creative time if you're not careful. And it still happens to me too. I have to catch myself, but by starting to get really over the last couple of years, really a little bit more disciplined on blocking out my time and organizing my day by like these very crucial one and two things that are like the chords of structure for composing a good day. Like if these things get handled, then I'm like, I know I'm making progress.
Yeah.
Yeah. So organizing it is key like that. And that really also helps simplify because sometimes when you have a to-do list, you look at it and you're like, oh my God, there's like, where do I begin? But if you just go like, well, deep down inside, I know it's that one little thing I should jump on right now. Or if I'm really, this project is super important to me, then that's the one thing I need to move on to. And then the rest of that stuff just kind of dissipates and you're not feeling so stressed about having to so much shit to do. It's like, no, you just need to focus on this one thing for two
Yeah.
hours. Be okay after that. And then do it again tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And then those things start advancing and compounding. And then you're really getting a lot of momentum. So then by the time the tour rolls around in 21 days or whatever, then you're like fucking already like you're ready for this shit to happen.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. I think that's probably a really huge reason why you're so prolific. I mean, you mentioned a book, if I may ask about the sound philosophy
Right.
that you're working on.
Yeah. Yeah. So the sound philosophy. So it's going to come out later this year, but it's sort of like really in a way a summary of a lot of the things that we're touching base on here in a bit of a mindset towards handling the the business of music and art and touring and all of those things that go into it over the course of uh, a long life because that's ideally what you want. Like you want to be able to do the creative thing. That's the most enjoyable part of all of this to me, is the making of it. Like I want to do that until I just physically can't move anymore. And then maybe I'll still find a way to do it. But, like I'd say, like I want to make music till I'm 100 years old, making some weird, strange country, Western industrial noise, avant-garde thing. I don't know, but or minimal piano, classical stuff. Like I will evolve. And I'm looking forward to that. So the main thing is to never lose that. Like that's why if you always protect your time creatively, and then if it is also a business that's being developed and a brand, then nurture that aspect of it too, and it can grow into something that you never lose. Because I do feel like so many people start out in life with a passion for music, but it kind of dissipates. Like something happens, disillusionment for a life, responsibilities occur, and then they just say, "Oh, I wish I would have stuck with it."
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's nice when you don't say that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a commitment for sure. It's absolutely a commitment to say like this
So yeah,
is,
the book is sort of like about
yeah.
finding that balance of being sustainable uh, with your art, sort of at any level that you may be. And also the fact that making it to the top isn't necessarily always all there is. And it may not be like the perfect thing for you as
Yeah.
well. We've seen many people, below it and lose it. And so I just want, like I said, it's kind of things that I've learned for myself that I guess I would share with the younger version of myself and others. So do the
Well,
things.
when can we read the book?
I think it will be out in early December on Subtle Body Press is the name of my publisher. Really cool uh, indie book publisher out of Florida. So yeah, that's a surprise thing. So, but it's okay for
I'm
us.
really I'm excited
Yeah,
to read it.
cool. Yeah, I will definitely share it with you when the time comes, and maybe we can talk about it more later on once it's in a physical form and shareable. Because I do think for anybody that watches what you guys are talking about in such a nice way, and all the information that's getting shared from other artists, that I have in watching your broadcast or podcast, that I've learned a lot too. So it's cool what you're doing, and yeah, I think that the book will contribute to that pool of knowledge.
Thank you. One of the things that struck me about you, Curse, is that like I watched a lot of interviews before today, and I see that you are very much of service, like to your community and the people around. And I saw this interview you did with Ken from Sounds and Shadows, and you were talking about how this album you were working on was kind of a gift to, the music community as a whole. And I feel like the book and the wisdom that you're going to be sharing is absolutely something that you don't have to do, but you're sharing a lot of wisdom, and that's really amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's good to share. I mean, you can't take it with you, so to speak. So it's like, why not? And a lot of people have like you can't do it alone. So along the way, there's been wonderful influences on my life that have shared their knowledge or expertise with me when they didn't have to as well. So it's good. I think that anybody that wants to learn, it's worth sharing some information with, because it just keeps things going. It's good for the music industry if those of us that have knowledge can pass it on to people, because it's a hard industry, but it would be a sad world without like the business of touring. Like if all that, like COVID is proof that it was a sad day for the world when every venue and almost globally was shut down. Like people weren't happy.
Yeah,
And when they were open, everybody, that was like one of the most exciting things for people. Like, fuck yeah, I get to go to a show again. Oh my God. And see my friends in a club. So we want that to live on long before,
yeah,
long after us.
yeah. I I heard a lot of people say, I will never take this for granted again.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep that in mind. I think that's important too. Like, don't take it for granted, even along the way. Um, Even when hardships occur on tour, because they are inevitable, and the little setbacks that happen, or if you didn't get a gig that you wanted, all these things, little disappointments, they all happen. Things get there's roadblocks, but when you address the roadblock, you just kind of and you keep going, and and when you just keep going, then it never ends, and that's the whole point. Again, that I will always keep referring back to is the whole point in doing it is to keep doing it and to not have a finite day where you must cease to create or tour. You can tour as long as you want. You can tour until you're 80 driving yourself around on a lawnmower if you want with the guitar on your back. I mean, you can do whatever you want. Like, you just be yourself and be creative. There's no end to it as long as you just keep going. And that's kind of what my vibe, and I think philosophy in life in general, is that I hope that I can sustain that. Like, I don't ever want to have to quit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going back to you were talking about in imaginary enemies, how it's kind of like the culmination of the trilogy, and in the 6 years of continuing it, I'm sure, like, from playing the shows along the way and creating along the way and discovering things along the way, it's like I feel like whatever the next thing is going to happen, you're going to discover even more truths and, you know, more ways of doing things. And so, like you were saying, the continuity, I think, is so vital in, I guess, opening us up to being able to find more and more truth about ourselves and the world around us.
Definitely. I think that is what you were talking about, like in uh, multitasking, so to speak. The main thing is just like maintaining, sort of like if you really want to do the art thing as like, I guess, a real career focus, is that every day you have to get in there and like work. Like, it's not just a fun thing for like, oh God, I feel really inspired today. I'm gonna go in there and like fucking bang one out. And 2 hours later, you have this finished track. In general, like, that can happen maybe, but in general, or like, especially if you're writing a book, like, you can only write so many words in a day. So you got to write them every day, or else the book's going to take 5 years to write instead of 5 months because you were waiting around for inspiration, which is really just procrastination. It's the same thing with writing music. And then the next thing is all the shit that has to be done to support that music. And that's why I am, like, okay, well, today I could be just chilling out, but I have to get in there and work on that video. It's coming up. There's a deadline. I must do it. So you just drag yourself out off the couch or whatever and go, okay, sit down and like, just give me 5 minutes, get started, or give me an hour. Ideally, like a couple of hours every day will advance your shit.
Yeah.
Um, but it's not easy, but the main thing is that the more you practice doing that, the easier it is to get yourself motivated, because eventually there comes a time where it's like, even like working muscles or learning something, you get to the point where it was like, okay, it was hard getting started, but now I'm getting the hang of it. And then after maybe a couple of months of that, like, oh shit, I can't wait to get in the studio now to finish learning how to fucking edit this thing inside of DaVinci Resolve or whatever the program you may be working in. Like, you're tapping into something deeper, and that's where creativity gets really cool. And then that's where then you're like, well, fuck the phone and fuck Facebook and Instagram and all that crap, or watching something else on TV. Like, I am over here working on my shit. I don't even know who the president is, and I don't care, because I am now in complete, relationship to my being, which is right now, right here, working on this one piece of music or art. And that's all that matters. And then I'm going to get this thing out into the world, and then somebody's going to buy it or listen to it and have an emotional connection while I start working on the next one. And that's what you just want to do, and build a giant body of work over 40 years of doing that. Like, imagine if you just were relentless, how much you would not say, I wish I would have done that. You would just be like, wow, I can't believe I actually made 10 albums. I made 1,000 paintings and I wrote 8 books and made a movie in my life. Like, that's to me a way cool way to try to live. And it just comes from the core of like knowing where you're going and doing it every day and working on your mind and body and staying sharp. Like, and then being willing to go with some lean times where no, which it could be financial lean times, or maybe you're just not getting the accolades that you may be looking for, but that's not why you're doing it. In the end, you should be doing it because it's like the thing you want to make. You know, you're driven to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I'm wondering, like, because I was envisioning myself as you were sharing about the time block for the creativity. Um, do you have like kind of a transition time as you're getting into that mindset when you're creating, or is it something that you can just easily switch on and off? Like, is there, kind of a process that you go through, or is it different every time?
Well, if I'm at home, like I can kind of get a bit of a routine going. And then the tour is like its own thing that kind of sort of has a different approach to every day, but you still kind of know the same things occur every day on tour. They're just different every day. Like the there's a commute, and then you got to go to a hotel, and then you got to get to the club and do the whole thing.
Yeah.
And everything about it is going to be 100% different than the night before, the day before. At home, it's sort of like, okay, I know exactly when I want to wake up and what I'm going to do after I wake up. And then the first must do, like creatively, is I try to like just get a morning journal session in to like sort of kickstart. And there's also resistance to that. Some mornings like I'm like, ah, God, I don't want to feel like writing right now. But it's just like, just open the book and like, it's a very short journal that I have in the morning, but it kind of just gets me going. And then once I do that, then I have that little like click. Um, and then from there, kind of take care of the little morning routine and get kind of coffeeed up or a little prepared on anything I might want to look at. Or I like to read in the morning. But then from there, I really want to get into, before I look at any email or text or anything like that, I try to get that first creative session in, even if it's like an hour and a half, like before I let the world in. The inbox is a dangerous place. Mine is, it's just like landmines of distraction that will definitely pull me away from getting anything creative done, because then once I start looking at that shit, I'll start thinking about it. Like once I start thinking about the tours and talk, oh God, I got to advance the tour, the merchandise, like once that's all like started to be thought about, or whatever, any daily life thing, bills or whatever, like once that stuff gets in my way, I find that it's harder to get back on track with like a real pure sort of, especially when it comes to writing, like words, like I don't want anything out there. But ideally, if I can get like a little hour or two musically in, then that's nice too. But I can definitely switch to music very easy in the late afternoon or evening if I didn't get to it all day, and sometimes I don't. But for creative writing, it's pretty much the morning or nothing. And then working on art like collages and crucifixes and things like that, I can kind of mix it up a little bit, but I like to do that kind of like as a late afternoon break. Like, okay, now I'm going to go make a collage, and anything that like you got just got to take breaks from the computer. I think it's the main thing. So
Yeah.
work on the computer for a while, then go do something else and come back. So then
I
that
like
kind of
that.
creates the blocks of time.
Um, just wanted to say real quick to our wonderful friends in the chats, thank you so much for joining us. We're getting a question from Richie, who says, "I love to write. Where do you get inspiration, Curse?"
Oh, it's from everywhere. Um, I think inspiration, yeah, it's just really all around. And from there, it just depends on how you want to, what it is that's all around that you want to tap into and put down on paper and start writing. Sometimes I don't even know. Like I like sort of the exercise of automatic writing. Like some of my journals are focused on that, where it's just like, okay, on your mark, get set, go. And then you just have to start writing. So you can just be inspired by nothing and randomness if you want, if you're ever stuck, because it really doesn't matter. The main thing is the exercise of like, okay, I'm just going to write free form for 2 minutes just to get started. Then you may yield at one good verse out of that little brain dump that will can be extracted and turned into something legit that might become a song. I mean, I know for me that's happened on multiple occasions. So yeah,
Yeah.
it comes from
I
within. Inspiration comes
yes.
from within.
I love that, but the stream of consciousness is very powerful because yeah, sometimes you're not even aware, I think, of um, like what your thoughts are until you actually write it out. Like there's a power in writing it out.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Writing by hand is, I think, has a certain magical appeal
Yeah,
in helping make things
absolutely.
real.
We're getting another question from Ken of Amaranth and Sounds of Shadows. He said, speaking of merch, Curse, you always go beyond CDs, t-shirts, and bring some kind of original art pieces. Anything like that for this tour?
Most definitely. Yeah, that's one of the favorite things for me is I was thinking about that as I was folding every shirt that I have that I'm taking, and I was looking at all my art. And like I've actually every single piece I have has been handled by me, so it's just a fair warning to everyone that my germs are on every single shirt. But yeah, making crucifixes. I liked the handmade stuff. I really like coming up with cool little trinkets and one-offs that lend themselves a little bit more towards the art edge versus just being mass-produced merch or just a T-shirt, or a CD. So yeah, it's and getting back to talking about getting things done. Like I really find a good sense of joy and relief in some ways and inspiration by working on the tactile art pieces that are like razor blades and glue and paper and actual paint and having paint all over and glue on my hands. It just feels a lot better than spending all day in front of a computer creating stuff. So it works out well for me, and I think that everybody likes them because they're all a little bit unique unto themselves. So each of those pieces that I make by hand is a one-off. So
Yeah. I was wondering actually,
just like you,
do you,
Ken, a unique piece.
yes. We love Ken.
I do love Ken.
Um, do you find that you're able to do any kind of creativity, whether it's the tactile or the writing, while you're on tour, or are you just kind of just in tour mode when you're on tour?
Um, it seems like when you go on tour, you're like, I'm gonna like do so much stuff. Like there's nothing you can like. I can barely keep up with journaling because in the morning it's like you're just rolling out of bed, like, oh God, where are we going? And you have to know where you're going, and it's usually earlier than you want, and so you're already behind, like from the get go. It's just mainly like, how can I get some coffee and a little food? Let's get on the road because we have 300 miles to go, and I might be driving the first 100 of that or 150 or so. It's hard to keep up with anything else other than the road when you're on the road and just what that calls for. But yeah, sometimes like I know sometimes I brought like 4 or 5 books with me. And I'm like, it's gonna be cool. But I didn't even read like a chapter because you just when you get to the and then when you have a free time, it's like, well, now I need to work on my social media, I guess, now that I'm not driving because I need to promote or try to get a click map. That's it. So yeah, there will be no creativity on the road.
I can definitely relate. I get the occasional lyric or poem, but as whispers,
Yeah,
but
certainly that.
um, yeah. But the reading of the books, I am so guilty of that. My poor bandmates have seen me do this, and they're like, "Tosh, do you really need those books?" And I'm like, "I do. I'm gonna read them."
Yeah.
It's
Probably the creativity on the tour is like trying to get like good B-roll and stuff for future videos or capturing your own, like you're just managing that content capture and making shit too, like trying to put it out there. That alone is creativity.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it can be a lot of fun too, like when you're really looking at it like that way.
Yeah. You have to try to make it not seem like work.
Yeah.
Even though a lot of it is, it's still something fun and creative. Like if you look at it from a filmmaker's standpoint or something like that, or hey, we're going to make a documentary, so I need to get good content because otherwise it can be a grind. It's hard, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it's one of those things like you if you do look at it like a grind and then it becomes um an arduous task and a wait as opposed to like, okay, how can I make this I guess in the way that I make my other things, right?
Right.
Yeah. Richie is actually asking another question about how do you relax after tour?
It's pretty easy. Just like sit on the couch and pass out, and then 3 weeks later you wake up. You're like, hey, what happened? um, no, I kind of like you just sort of ease back into a routine, I guess. I don't know. You kind of come home a little bit twisted and uh and then it takes a few days to get over the like what do I do with myself? Because when you get out there, it is very regimented, even though every day is a little bit different. There's still like that drive, like, okay, we wake up and we go and we do the thing and then we pass out and we wake up and we do it again. But then after, like, once you get home, then you kind of have like these probably the first 3 days are a little confusing, I think, if you've been out for more than maybe 2.5 weeks, because you don't quite know what to do with yourself. Like, what am I supposed to be doing? And then everything just normalizes and you just move on to the next thing with your life. Like fucking read a book, work
Yeah.
on some art, go for a walk, go to work, whatever.
Well, what was your very first tour like? Was this, was it something that you intuitively knew how to just kind of fall into, or have you had to learn along the way, with the different tours that you've done?
Right. Kind of both. I mean, we continue to learn, and I always continue to learn. Where it started, where did I learn, like trial by fire. First tours would have been like the first Evil Mothers tours when we were uh, support act for Pigface would have been where my best education in my early days would have come from because they were on a bus and then we had our strange little school bus. So we're trying to follow that bus. But I would see how like Jolly Roger, the tour manager, legendary tour manager, Jolly Roger, a Chicago institution, 6'8", used to tour manage Ministry. That's where I met him. And then he did Skinny Puppy, but he also worked for Kiss. And there was rumor he might have been a professional wrestler at one point, but he's an amazing character. But I learned a lot about tour managing just from watching him run the Pigface show. And then he kind of took Evil Mothers under his wing, which was great because he used to carry around when he would go settle a show, he would bring this big giant wrench, like a metal wrench that was like about this big. So for any promoters that wanted to like try to pull any bullshit, it was just always like, you don't fuck with Jolly, so you don't fuck with Pigface. Ministry. It was kind of imposing, but anyway, it was fun to see all of those because those were all like decent sized theaters So you learned a lot about the mechanics of how a real show ran in a bunch of, like that tour must have played like 70 shows or something. So from the Ritz in New York to Prince's nightclub in Minneapolis, or amazing venues in San Francisco, just all over the place, like getting to work in all of those venues and seeing how dealing with production managers, especially once I started then advancing into being a tour manager myself, working with these people and learning how it all works has actually been a real fun thing for me as well, and why I sometimes feel I can speak with a little bit of expertise on these things, because I have been in that position of working with production managers that are dealing with like way bigger bands than me on a daily basis, which means they're dealing with production managers and tour managers and sound guys that are operating at really high levels. So you can kind of learn from everyone around you along the way. But yeah, those early Pigface tours with Evil Mothers were great.
I mean, it sounds like an amazing way to kind of start everything. I can imagine it really imprinted, having that early experience.
Yeah. And then you just kind of keep doing it. The main thing is just trying to get gigs, really, right? At the end of the day, like work as much as you can when you can.
Yeah. Well, another question is out of all of your years of touring, do you have any unspoken words of wisdom for a band that's just starting out?
Yeah, for a band just starting out, um, yeah, like again, like know where you're going, kind of set your expectations. Maybe and you don't have to stick to it. Things can evolve, but like, what do you really want to get out from? Like, say, hey, within 3 years, do you want this to be like a hobby, or do you really want to make a career of it? Because then that'll dictate like how much time outside of the band itself you need to put towards the business of the brand and the band. So that's a thing. But otherwise, like, just get the fundamentals in order. Like, make sure you have all of your social media profiles in your band's name. And if you can establish a place to collect some email addresses, that's always nice. So getting your online presence uh, established is a good thing. I think that's probably your best way to just start, is kind of getting that little entity in order in case you do get popular, that you have all of those things locked down. And then just be helpful and be a contributor to your local scene. Like, go to shows, get to know bands that are already playing. And if you want to play with them, get to know them and be nice, and like introduce yourself and say your name. Like, I don't know, so many people, like, I'll meet like support acts that are maybe opening for us along the way on tour, and I'll say, "Hey, I'm Curse," and they'll be like, "Oh, hi." Like, they don't say their name, and it confuses me, and I don't know why. Like, just say your name. Don't be too shy. Be nice. Be a good support act. Like, if you're an opening act, just be there to help make it a great show, and be really easy to work with, and prompt and courteous and nice. And another one is always be very cool with the local sound and the people that work in the club, sound man, engineer, lighting person, whatever they may have. And again, that goes back to introducing yourself by name, and like, hey, I'm Curse with, or I'm Curse from I'm Curse Mackey. Like, I always let them know, and I find who my house sound person is, so I can establish that rapport and hopefully let them know that I am also nice and fun to work with and know what I'm doing. And that if all the equipment works, that we're going to have a great day. And that I don't have a ton of shit. My gear's not everywhere. I'm not crashing anybody's dressing room. I'm not eating anybody else's catering or inviting my guest into somebody else's dressing room. I'm just the support act that lives locally, and I helped bring people to the show because that's my job as a support act or a local opener. And then being a local opener, that's sort of like your audition in a way for the next time, and the next time that you hopefully develop positive relations with bands that happen to make it around again and maybe happen to grow. And then are like, oh, remember those guys from San Antonio? They were really cool. Who were they? Oh, that was Evil Mothers. Oh, yeah. Oh, let's get them. Well, why? Well, they were really cool and they put on a good show and they were fun to hang out with and really easy to work with. Like that's how the shit ultimately works. So the more of
Yeah.
that you can get out there with the more people, then all the better. Like working in a club is really how it happened to me. Like if you really boil down, how did I get to this point of having a full-time career in music as a vocalist in my own project and doing art and writing books? It started because I was willing to clean a fucking toilet in a goth club in San Antonio, basically when nobody else would. That I was just like, I'll be the bar back that these guys we knew that were opening a club. And from that was also happened to be like the best DJ in town in San Antonio, DJ Jesse, who was an expert beat mixer, most impeccable DJ ever when it came to vinyl mixing. And I think like a legend and at the time down there, like he was the DJ in that club. So I helped him carry his records in, help keep the DJ booth tidy, get him drinks when he needed them, and then would also have to clean up spills on the dance floor and get ice and for the bartenders and stuff. But every day, like every couple of times a weekend, Friday and Saturday, when Jesse would come in, I was like, dude, how do you line up the beats on the turntable? Like, how do you get these records aligned? He's like, oh, you see the grooves and like you get it. I'm like, okay, yeah. And then you use the speed thing to line them up, and then you tap it to where they're lined up. Now you can see they're on the exact same thing. It's the same record playing on two turntables at the same time. Oh, fucking cool. Okay, well, hey, you better go. There's the boss. You better go. Like, go get the ice. Catch me later. And then the next night, the same thing would happen, but we would pick up where we left off. It's like, okay, remember how we did the phasing? Now slow it down and you'll watch how you'll get this crazy chorusing effect, and it sounds sick on the dance floor when you do that, because now they're slightly out of alignment, and just continuing for like months to the point where then he's like, hey, you want to take over on Saturday from 9 to 11 and DJ? I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. Well, then the reason really was because the club's dead as fuck for the first 2 hours and he didn't want to be there, but for me, I was happy to do it. And then the owner of the club noticed that I was getting good at it. And they're like, hey, we're going to open on a Tuesday night. Would you want to come up with a theme? And you and your little industrial gremlin friends can fucking knock yourself out. And so that's how I started becoming a DJ and having my own night, and then learning, okay, now I got to make a flyer and go out and promote. And out of that, was when Wax Tracks all started happening. So I started writing letters to Wax Tracks saying, hey, I'm a DJ in San Antonio and I'm playing all of your bands. And I have it on vinyl, and all Front 242 and Thrill Kill Kult and KMFDM and all of that stuff was like first coming out. Like I was getting all that stuff and playing it. So I just let them know. And then ultimately we tracked down Skinny Puppy first and ended up putting on a show with them. Like, their agent was like, hey, do you guys want to bring Skinny Puppy to San Antonio? I'm like, yeah. So we did, like teenagers really at the time. But we pulled our resources together and put on a Skinny Puppy concert. And then that kind of got the word to Al Jorgensen that, hey, there's a little crew in San Antonio putting on shows. And then that's how we met Thrill Kill Kult out of that, and KMFDM, Frontline Assembly, Nine Inch Nails, like it was just word of mouth that I was putting on shows in San Antonio, and all those bands, like one by one, learned. So again, it just comes down to like being nice and willing to go get ice for the bus or clean a toilet, and you too can have a career in the music business. If so, I mean, really, that's kind of how it starts. So it's like, it's kind of who you know, and like putting your best foot forward and being willing to raise your hand to help. Because then eventually, when it's like, when somebody does need some help or is looking to hook somebody up, they think back about who was helpful. I still do. Like when I'm looking like to fill roles on tour to this date, when I need personnel, my mind immediately goes like, who did I just work with on the last tour? Like, oh God, that production manager at this specific venue in Atlanta was fantastic. Maybe they would be a good candidate, or okay, yeah, we need another band for 5 shows. Okay, well, these guys were great. These guys weren't, for various reasons. Sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with how they were on stage. It's like how they were off stage that you don't want to necessarily have to be around them again, or their baggage, or too much gear, or flaming tiki torches, or whatever the fuck people bring when they shouldn't.
Has that actually happened?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah. I think once I was thought my life with the Thrill Kill Cult's main rig was going to go up in flames from tiki torches, sending little embers that were like came back from dinner, and it was like, whoa, wow. It's like Grinder and tiki torches burning, and like Buzz McCoy's rig is like, let's look at, God, it's like 6 inches from the flame. It's crazy.
Oh, oh my
It's
gosh.
like, I can't believe you would like jeopardize a show that much. It's kind of like going back to like starting out. Like, I think one good thing when you think about touring and like how much shit you bring, like it depends on the hierarchy of like things. Like the headliner has got the most overhead. They've got the most at stake. They need the most amount of room, and they need the most money, and they need the most time. It's all like them. And then you have like your direct support act, who is that in between that has already also probably paid some decent dues and is bringing something to the table. It's going to have a little bit more of an elaborate setup and be given more stage time. And then you have a support act that's either on the tour or playing a half-hour set and trying to travel as light as possible. And then maybe a local support. And then that's when the local support gets dicey, because you're the one who's been at home looking forward to this gig for a month, and you're preparing for it, and you want to put on your best show. So you end up bringing everything that you can throw at it. And that's happened many, many times. And the thing that is not likable about that is that the touring support acts by just have to travel really light. Like, sometimes I'm flying into a show. So if I have lighting, I might be lucky, or maybe I have my projector with me, or I've got one light, right? But if you're the hometown team, you can bring out 8 stand-up strobes and shit, everything. Like, you can do it all, and it's not always the best thing to do, because in a way you're sort of upstaging the band that or the bands that you're supposed to be there to be like a good opening act, to help warm up the show, be promotional, help get your friends out and have a good time and grow. And then after you've done that and established that, and then if it's your own night, then you can create that fucking, my own crazy fuck fest with all the vendors and all the crazy shit going down, and it's your overhead and it's your night. Then you can, do all those things. But in the beginning, like, you should just really be like, take up a small footprint and do your thing, promote, be easy to work with, say hi, try to make a friend in the band and connect. And then it grows organically. Like, you just can't force yourself into it. You just got to let it happen naturally. And the nicer you are, and the more you put yourself out there in those ways, and the easier you are to work with, and that's great. Because we remember these things, like, you'll hear like a proposed act maybe for support, and it's like, oh no, not that again. I'm not saying
Yeah,
any names ever, but like, it shit
yeah,
happens.
yeah.
Probably been responsible for it at least once in my life too, in the early days too. Like, my band used to set shit on fire and stuff. So I look back, I'm like, God, I wonder if that was like in that slot too much. You're young, so you don't know. You're just enthusiastic. You want to put it on. It's all good. There's no right answers.
I do feel like you do learn as you go, and every tour is definitely a lesson, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you should never stop learning and always be curious about and I still like Rona from Sign. She's great. She's really fun to tour with. Like a great partner and a good thinker. So it's always about like, how can we do this a little smarter next time? What little tools would make life easier at the merch table when it comes to like, do we lighting for the merch table? Extra batteries for things, just like all kinds of little things that make your life easier. She's good
Yeah.
with that. And so, yeah, like each tour, and while you're on tour as well, like the 30th show should be so many times more refined than the first one because you want to, up until the very last second, try to make it better. Like that's the goal all the way through, I think, is that each night, okay, what didn't work there? What did I do wrong? Like, oh, yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of little things on and off stage that you think of. And so if you make a mistake, it's all cool. Shit happens all the time. And then the main thing is like when things go wrong, to really, it's all about mindset and keeping your cool and grace under pressure and really having a little bit of a thicker skin to know like, okay, there's no sense in melting down or getting really upset about anything that's going to happen, because these things, something's going to happen at some point and you're going to be called upon to act with grace under pressure and not just amplify because now you're troubled because something wrong happened, whether it could be anything like shit from blown tires, something broke down or something, but I don't know. All the things that go wrong on tour. There's lots of opportunities to lose your mind. So you just got to keep keep a balanced outlook and just keep it cool. And then, like I said, you're just working to make it as good as you can all the way to the end. So then when it's over, um, you can transition back to what comes next easily, knowing that you gave it your all in the best way possible. And that's all you can ask of yourself. You can't control how many people show up. You can kind of control what they think about you by putting on a good show, but there's a lot beyond your control. So you just have to go out there and be the best you, and then that'll carry over into taking care of the ones that are around you. Like looking out, if you're in a band situation, then be nice and generous and kind of thoughtful about your space and how much room you take up, and whether you're on time or you're the one running behind, or if you're the one that's the first to get up to help lift something and make shit happen, or if you have to always be asked to help move something because you're hiding from load in or load out. Yeah, I don't know. Just be curious about it, and like curious, like how one of my things is like, okay, how can I make this work? Like I've tried to turn because I used to always be like, I don't know if that's going to work, because, and I could run down like all the what ifs of like how things can work out or not come to fruition, why it might be a bad idea. But I've also tried to change my mind in the way I look at things. Like even knowing this may not be a great idea, like, well, could I make it work? And then you just think about it, and at least you gave it the time of day. And especially if it's somebody else's idea, like, hey, if somebody comes to the table, like, hey, what about this? You don't just shoot it down. Like give it some thought. Like, well, maybe that could work. And if it doesn't, then you can come to a group agreement. Like, all right, maybe we will do something else. But I think it's being really open, keeping an open mind, and not being too quick to judge or knock down ideas is really important on tour, to keep everybody like feeling like they're part of it and their energy and input is valuable. And then you'll get good results. People will work harder, and when they feel like they're all part of something, a greater good. I think I've seen that work many times. And I also see it when it's not working, when people are grinding against each other. It's like, now everything's just taking longer. Everybody's in a bad mood. Now the hospitality really sucks. And, it's just like, then you can see people not having a good time at it. And that's sad, because sometimes it's just a simple adjustment in your brain and your perspective. Like, no shit's going to go wrong. And when it does, I'm going to just keep a good attitude about it, because after it's done, then that's just one last thing we got, something else we got out of our way, and we'll laugh about it later, probably.
Yeah.
So don't fight about it now.
It makes a huge difference for sure. We actually had a question from Ken that was asking about like how you deal with you know, giving each other space and boundaries on the road. And it seems like that's a really key part, is having that awareness of not putting too much weight when things do go wrong, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's just like, again, everybody's going to have like little, we're all emotional to some degree. So things that happen affect people. But again, it's just mindset, like internally and externally. Like when shit's going wrong to me, like sometimes I'm like, okay, well, I'm not really happy about this, but I don't really need to like complain out loud about it. I'm just going to deal with what I got to deal with while I'm still driving to the venue or whatever it is. I don't need to
Hmm.
complain out loud about something that actually, if it doesn't even affect 3 or 4 other people, because then it just interrupts them and it brings them into something and it magnifies a subtle problem more than solves anything. So, um, yeah, and then recognizing like if you can kind of tell if somebody else may be down, and then you can offer, anything I can do for you, like, or you all good? Cool. All right. I'm gonna go set up. Let me know if you need something. Like very simple. Like I just learned a lot of that because I think being tour manager for my life with the Thrill Kill Kult while playing in the band, and also Martin Adkins and I used to co-tour manage Pigface. Like he would say, he goes, I take the morning shift and Curse takes the night shift kind of thing. Like that's how we would run it. And but when you kind of enter into that level, and I guess it goes back to also when I think about my career starting as a bar back, that was like it's a service industry role, right? Ultimately, I'm there to provide this environment of whether it's because it needs ice or it needs music or it needs to a band or it needs somebody to run this show. Like you're kind of always in service to the audience as well as when you're in a tour manager role. I think you're in service to your crew and in the band itself. So you got to make sure that they're doing good because you want, at the end of the day, no matter what is happening from the time you leave the hotel to get to the show and play the show, no matter how crazy that part might be and how wrong or whatever is going on, when you want the band to, you want the show to be perfect, and you don't want to telegraph anything that's wrong to the audience because you're not trying to bring them into our fucking drama over here either. They don't deserve that. They want to see us out there doing our very best, not troubled by anything else. So when you're taking care of yourself and taking care of your closest people, which is your bandmates, then you create this little symbiotic world that can actually go out there and create positive energy for people at a show, and you have that happiness for that time. And that's kind of what the whole point is when you break it down. Like that's what music and this touring does. It's like that gives us that time and space at then wherever we're at together to share this fun little thing. And then we go on, and the adventure continues. So yeah, you just make it easier on yourself by just like shit's gonna go wrong, just don't fight it. It's like keep a good attitude. It's all good. You can write about it in a book later. So all the shit that goes wrong is what makes for a good book. I mean, it's like that all the good shows, you're like, yeah, whatever. But that one time it really went wrong. Let me tell you a story. So
Okay, I'm gonna poke a bear here. Since you just brought it up, is there like a moment that you've had on tour, in any project where you were like, oh my gosh, like this is chaos. Like how do it like is there a particular moment that stands out to you?
well, I guess the one that's popping into my mind right now is like it's when you need to really, I guess it's a lesson in valuing the moment that you have and what you're actually doing while you're doing it. Because again, going back to like bitching out loud or finding reasons why things aren't great while you're doing something super cool goes against itself. So there was a Pigface tour and we were in 2 buses and we were heading towards the last night to play a sold out show at, I think I don't know, we might have even been playing two shows at the Metro in Chicago. And along the way, when you have two, like 34 people on two buses for like 6 weeks, at times you can things get a little factional or like clicky, or things are just grinding at times, and people on one bus and then the other bus, and the rules on one, I don't know. It's just like these little ecosystems develop, and it's stressful at times, but I think it was my life with the Thrill Kill Kult, Pigface, Xymox, and Bile. Must have been that tour. It was an incredible tour, really was. Probably like one of the coolest tours I've done. But along with all of that stress in life, on the last night, the one bus that I was not on, but Martin Adkins was on it, and Jolly Roger, and a number of other obviously very important friends and our family. That bus almost flipped and like totally wiped out. Um, but it didn't, fortunately. It managed to not flip, but when we got to the venue and learned about what had happened to the other bus, the whole front end of it was just like shredded, and like massive amounts of like turf from like how it almost went into the side of the road and stuff, and like everybody flew out of their bunks and hit their heads and all this crazy shit, and like literally half of our people 100% thought they were going to die at that moment.
Wow.
And when they were back together with us, and then we learned of what happened to them, it was like this kind of sense, this incredible like energy of like, wow, life and love, and like, okay, I mean, like anything that I felt like these like little petty argument to tour energy just dissipated, and it was like, wow, okay, so everybody just all of a sudden had this greater appreciation for the moment and their life in general, and it was like a true awakening that took place on the road. And then, of course, when you have an experience like that, and then you have a sold out hometown show, you can only imagine like the energy that came off the band, because half of them had almost died, and the way the whole show went, and the attitude with the crew, and the understanding from the venue, they knew what had also happened. So it was just like, I thought it was like, wow, it was really sort of transcended a show, because somewhere over here, like half these people almost didn't make it. And so I'm grateful that they did. And so you get like a lesson in gratitude, and um, not taking it so for granted, and like not letting the little shit pile up to where it becomes ever an issue. Like, we're very fortunate that we get to do this. So yeah, that was probably one of the scarier ones that led to like a kind of like a transcending of energy around a bunch of people, because it was such a near death experience. Yeah.
Wow. Talk
So
about a
I know that
huge,
there's
like,
probably many other variations of that story from those that experienced it, but yeah.
that's so wild. I mean, it really does make you really look at perspective in such a broader lens, I think, having an experience like that.
Right. And I think that's all lends back into my whole thing, I guess, my philosophy of working towards a often challenging career of creativity, and trying to be sustainable by also having it be a business, um, is just mindset, and trying to like know that the scary things that happen and the challenges that happen, they're all part of the same thing. They're as valuable as playing a hit song on stage again and people really liking it. Like these things that happen off, that go the I guess the alchemy that goes into the machinery of making a show, like there are really magical tidbits of life in all that goes into the 45 minutes or an hour on stage. And if you really pay attention to it, you can get a lot from it that I think empowers you to be able to keep going, because just become aware of like how things work, I guess. And it goes then that going back to like the first question about where does inspiration come from? You see it firsthand and then you get inspired and you just keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I I know we're coming close to time. You have a very, very big schedule, I know, getting ready for the tour, but I did want to say just how deeply grateful and inspired I am by you, Curse. I know I speak for the audience as well.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, you've had an incredible career, and continue to, and it starts foundationally from a place of service, like you were saying, like be willing to get the ice and think about others, and um, I mean, obviously, it's led you to so many different places that maybe you didn't even know would lead you.
Oh, most definitely. And that's the cool thing. Like you just, when you put yourself out there, those opportunities will arise. And then if you're aware, and then you might grab onto one and it takes you somewhere you didn't expect. And that's definitely happened for me a few times. So uh, I encourage that.
Yeah. Well, for those of you who are able to catch Curse on his upcoming tour, do you have a preferred method of how people can keep track of you?
Um, you know, my if you want the real deal, the best thing to do is go to cursemackey.com/sign up and get on my email list, because that's really where the first line of information and opportunities go. Like if I have limited edition anything, I'll or breaking news, so to speak. Like I try to put it all through my newsletter first, called the Exorcist Files. And then from there, like Instagram and Facebook, I'm very active on right now because of the impending tour. So it's a necessity. And also, I have a nice community at patreon.com/Curse Mackey. And all of those wonderful people have heard my album already and seen all kinds of fun things behind the scenes that nobody else has seen or heard. So there's some privileges to joining me on Patreon. Um, so yeah, and then otherwise just come to a show and meet in person.
Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing your show here in LA next month.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yes. And then just would ask everybody, if you enjoyed this, check out Imaginary Enemies. Follow me on Spotify as well, or pick it up on Bandcamp. Cursemackey.com right now just directs to my Bandcamp. So pretty much all the tour dates and every bit of information is there as well. So yeah, it's all happening now. Album comes out on Friday. Yay.
Yes.
It's been a journey.
That's
So I'm
exciting.
excited about it. I'm really happy to get this music out. And I think it tells a cool story. And Chase Dobson, who co-produced it with me, like he's impeccable engineer and really did a stellar job in helping me put this together. So as far as the trilogy goes, I'm really happy with it, and I think it has a pretty interesting ending. But no spoiler alerts. Mm.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much again for sharing your time and your amazing self with us.
Thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. This is a really cool thing.
Thank you. Yeah, we absolutely will. And thank you everyone online for hanging out with us and for your
Yes.
wonderful questions and comments. We will see you next time. Many
Awesome.
loves,
Thank you,
y'all.
everybody.